All right. Good afternoon. One of my tasks was to develop some kind of multimedia to unpack standards for the North Carolina Teacher Candidate Standards 1A and 1B. Basically, Standard 1 as a whole just requires teachers to demonstrate leadership in the school itself, not just in the classroom. 1A and 1B are subsections of that standard, and it is as follows. Some of the frequently used vocabulary within the standard and the standard description and the rubric are listed here for both substandards. You probably see a lot of vocabulary that you are familiar with right off the bat. The word assessment, demonstrate, data, strategies, culture, North Carolina Standard Course of Study. There's several terms that throughout your teaching career, either as a school employee or even as a Gardner-Webb student, these terms were frequently used. So I felt it necessary, just as they did in the Weebly exemplar, to point out relevant vocabulary that you need to kind of acclimate yourself with before you engage in this experience. So take the time to review those terms. And this process, or executing this process, should be a lot easier. A few concepts. I went ahead and combined the two standards, and I extracted portions of the description and kind of built on it. Initially, teachers demonstrate leadership by taking responsibility for the progress of all students, regardless of the needs of your students or whether they are EC or gifted learners. You're responsible for their learning needs. If you're the regular ed teacher, you are responsible for that core instruction, and that's the instruction that everyone gets. So even though some may require some additional or supplemental support, you are responsible for providing that first line of instruction. It's important that you communicate the vision to students. Students really can't take ownership in a process that they don't understand. Just think about when you were in grade school and there was so much emphasis placed on end of grade testing and things like that. You didn't understand it. You just knew you needed to score proficiently. And by that, in my day, it was at least a 3. But when I began to understand what it meant and why we were being assessed, I tend to do better. Data sources. The more you have, the more you understand them, the more useful they are. Don't just use 1 or 2 data sources. There are several formative assessments that are used to inform instruction. There are different types of summatives that can be given to measure learning over time, but use all of those resources to determine learning progress. 1B requires you to collaborate with your colleagues to inform decisions about the school. I can't think of anyone who works in a profession such as ours, teaching, where you wouldn't collaborate with your colleagues. We require students to work in groups to complete activities within the classroom. So it's only right that we model that behavior. It's important that we collaborate with our colleagues to improve conditions, not only for the students, but also the teachers. So teacher collaboration is important. Putting it into practice, this gives a description of how it looks in the classroom, more so, just depending on where you're reading. This gives a better description of those concepts. I encourage you to take and pay real close attention to the visuals I provided. I think they kind of go hand in hand with the text. And basically, these descriptions just expand on what I just mentioned. And if you're anything like me, you need a visual. You need some kind of tangible connection to the topic. I like to research videos where I can actually see teachers putting whatever the standard or strategy is into practice. A lot of these videos I have listed, the first one demonstrates the actual leadership technique, but the rest, well, the next 2 expand on how teacher leadership impacts the school and the school environment. And the last 2 actually illustrate teachers collaborating. You actually get to see them physically in a collaboration activity. So I encourage you to navigate through this website, watch this video over and over and over if you have to. The website title is jgrayssed307 google.simplesite.com, just in case there's some technical difficulties. But of course, this video will be uploaded to our Google documents. So I hope this helps.